On November 18, 2016, a chartered Antonov AN-24 carrying the Tajikistan National Volleyball Team disappeared from radar over the Pamir Mountains. The flight from Dushanbe to Bishkek should have taken 90 minutes. It never arrived. Search and rescue teams found the wreckage 3 days later at nearly 14,000 feet above sea level, scattered across a frozen glacier near the Afghanistan border, an area so remote that even experienced pilots avoid it whenever possible. Of the 27 people on board, 18 players, 4 coaches, 3 crew members, and 2 journalists, only one survived. His name was Rustam Nazarov. He was 23 years old, a professional athlete, healthy, strong. By the time rescuers reached him, he weighed barely more than a child. This is his account, recorded over several interviews in a psychiatric hospital in Almaty, Kazakhstan, before his death in 2019. Rustam said the flight felt ordinary at first. Some of the players joked about the upcoming match. Others slept. Headphones were in. Seatbelts were loose. The mountains below were hidden behind thick cloud cover. But this route was common. About 30 minutes into the flight, the vibration began. Not turbulence, not shaking. A deep, uneven shudder ran through the cabin, as if the plane itself was struggling to breathe. The drop came seconds later, sudden, violent. Rustam described the sensation as his stomach being ripped upward into his chest. Screams erupted instantly. Overhead compartments burst open, spilling luggage into the aisle. A heavy bag struck one of the players and knocked him unconscious. The plane tilted sharply. Oxygen masks deployed, swinging uselessly as people fumbled with them, hands already shaking. Then the pilot's voice came over the intercom. Calm, controlled, but tight. We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please remain seated and prepare for emergency landing. Rustam pressed his face to the window. The clouds thinned just enough for him to see jagged mountain peaks rising toward them. Snow-covered ridges, endless, too close. Someone began praying loudly. Someone else screamed a name over and over. Then came the impact. Rustam would later say it sounded like the sky ripping open. Metal screamed as the plane struck the mountainside. Seats tore loose. Bodies were thrown forward with bone-crushing force. Rustam felt himself lifted out of his seat. And then, nothing. When he woke, he thought he was dead. Cold air burned his lungs so sharply he couldn't breathe at first. Snow pressed against his chest and face. His ears rang violently. He tried to move and couldn't. It took several long seconds to realize he was alive. The silence afterward was unnatural. No engines, no voices, only wind. The wreckage lay scattered across the glacier like debris from an explosion. The cockpit was completely destroyed, flattened beyond recognition. The tail section was gone entirely, torn free, and lost somewhere down the mountainside. Only the middle section remained partially intact. Rustam began shouting names. At first, there was no response. Then, faintly, voices answered. 11 survivors. Head coach Malik Asanov was alive but badly injured. His leg crushed beneath twisted metal. 6 players survived, some bleeding, some barely responsive. 2 journalists had broken bones. A flight attendant was in shock. And the co-pilot, Dmitry, had a deep gash across his forehead but remained alert. They assessed what little they had. The emergency radio was destroyed. No cell service. Food consisted of crushed snack bags and a few bottles of water pulled from the wreckage. Most winter gear was lost with the tail section. The cold was already sinking in. Breath crystallized instantly. Fingers went numb within minutes. Coach Malik tried to keep everyone focused. He insisted rescue teams would notice the missing flight quickly, that helicopters would come. Dmitri didn't agree. He stared up at the sky, watching storm clouds coil around the peaks like something alive. "Not in this weather," he said quietly. "They can't fly here when the storm closes in." Night fell fast. They reinforced the broken fuselage with luggage, insulation, torn seats, anything they could move. Rustam pressed himself between teammates, sharing body heat, listening to the metal shell creak and groan as the wind battered it relentlessly. Time stretched, thoughts slowed. Then Rustam heard it. At first, he thought it was the wind changing pitch, but the sound had rhythm, melody, singing. A woman's voice drifted through the storm, clear, steady, impossibly calm. It cut through the howling wind as if it didn't belong to the same world. The language was unfamiliar, not Russian, not Tajik, not Uzbek, something older, something that made his skin crawl. Rustam wasn't alone. Aziz whispered, "You hear that too?" Everyone did. The song was soothing, comforting. It dulled pain, quieted fear, made the cold feel distant. Coach Malik forced himself to stand and peer through a gap in the wreckage. "Maybe someone lives nearby," he said weakly. "A shepherd, a village." Dmitri grabbed his arm hard. "No," he said. "There is nothing here. No villages, no roads, no people." The singing grew closer. Then they saw her. A woman emerged from the blizzard. She walked calmly through the snow, wearing a long dress and headscarf. Traditional clothing, thin and completely unsuitable for the freezing temperature. The wind tore at everything around her, but she didn't struggle, didn't stumble. She glided. Her feet left no footprints. She stopped about 50 meters from the wreckage and turned slowly. Her face was calm, serene, almost kind. She raised her hand and beckoned. Then she turned and walked toward a rocky outcropping higher up the mountain, her song never breaking. If you are enjoying this video and have not yet subscribed to my channel, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends and family members so that I can continue to bring you bone-chilling stories in the future for free. Thank you and enjoy. Aziz stood. "We should follow her," he said softly. "She knows where it's warm." Coach Malik hesitated. His thoughts were slow now, heavy. The cold was unbearable. Dmitri shouted, "No one leaves. This is not real." Aziz didn't respond. He climbed out into the storm. 2 other players followed him. Their faces were blank, their eyes unfocused, like sleepwalkers. Rustam screamed for them to stop. He tried to follow, but Dmitri grabbed him and dragged him back inside. The singing faded as the figures vanished into the white. They waited. Minutes passed, then hours. The storm worsened. The woman never returned. By morning, frost coated the inside of the fuselage. 2 more people had died during the night. Only 8 remained alive. Rescue teams arrived 2 days later. They found the wreckage. They found no footprints leading away from it, no bodies, no sign that anyone had ever walked into the storm. Local guides later told investigators about old mountain stories. Women who sang to travelers, luring them into the snow where they were never seen again. Rustam was the only one who lived long enough to tell what happened. They never came back because the mountain never forgets. The mountain never lets go. In the Pamirs, where the air is thin and the cold cuts like knives, it calls in the voices of the dead. beckons with the faces of the lost, promises rest, promises peace, promises the end of struggle. All you have to do is listen. All you have to do is follow. Eventually, you'll hear your name. And when you do, you'll understand why the mountain always wins.
Subscribe if you dare.